Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. I'm your host Purushottam, and in today's video, we are going to talk about a book. We are going to talk about the epitome of all spiritual literature available in this universe. We are going to talk about a book which has survived the test of time and is going to be immortal for eons to come. Many of you might probably have already guessed the book I'm talking about. Yes, you guessed it right. I'm going to talk about the Holy Bhagwad Gita. Now, the lessons from Bhagwad Gita, they cannot be contextualized in words. They are infinite in number. And the mesmerizing aspect of it is every time you read Bhagwad Gita in any point of your life, at any point of your life, you will always find something new out of it. A person who reads the Bhagwad Gita at the age of 18, he will unravel certain lessons for him, versus a person who reads the Bhagwad Gita at age 30, at age 50, at age 60, at age 70. Every time you read that book, a new dimension of life is served in front of you. A new level of understanding is unraveled towards your consciousness. Now, today's video is going to be sort of an humble attempt to talk about the top 5 lessons which I learned from this phenomenal text, the Holy Bhagwad Gita, which was spoken by Lord Krishna himself. Now, the glories of Bhagwad Gita have been spoken by legends, be it Albert Einstein, be it Mahatma Gandhi, be it Ralph Waldo Emerson. The legends of history have revered this book with great awe and with utmost humility. Because this book it's not an ordinary book. Because let's realize, for a book to survive 5,000 years of life, of time, there certainly needs to be more than just a substance, more than just some amount of captivating substance. The book is truly divine, and the knowledge and the fountain of wisdom which each one of us can derive from this book is just eternal. It won't be an overstatement to say that Bhagwad Gita is the source of all eternal wisdom, knowledge, and anything which you can think of in this universe. All the answers to all the most dreaded questions is available in that holy book. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson put it so beautifully. He said, I owed a magnificent day to Bhagwad Gita. It was an empire. It was as if an empire spoke to me, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old ancient intelligence which had the answers to all the relevant questions of every era. Now, it's very interesting that people of such high reputation, people who have done such phenomenal work, they also revere this book. And you will probably are not aware that Bhagwad Gita is considered to be a manual of leadership and management lessons in top B schools of the world. Be it the Kellogg School of Management, which is considered to be the top management schools in the world, or the top management schools in India, whether it's Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, or there are countless number of management institutions which follow this as a preamble of leadership and management lessons in general. Now let's come back to the lessons which you and me can learn from this phenomenal book. Now, if you are someone who has never read the Bhagwad Gita, I think today is a great day to start reading the Bhagwad Gita, because it's not only food for thought, but it's food for the soul. And unless your soul is not fulfilled, unless your soul is not fed, you will never feel fulfilled and satisfied in life, no matter how many material opulences you acquire. This knowledge, the knowledge which is available in this book, it has the potential to completely change you from within, cleanse your consciousness in so many subtle ways. And this is a book which can be applied to any situation. This is a book which can be applied to all the complicated, intricate, nuanced dimensions of our life. Now let's go to the first lesson which you and me can learn from this phenomenal book. Now, the first lesson, probably you would have heard of it, but this is a very powerful lesson which we need to ponder on. Now, this lesson talks about focus on actions and not on results. Now, this is something which we have found puzzling to comprehend and also to digest. Because if you think about it, right, if you are not thinking about the results, then what is the drive to take actions? I mean, if I don't have the motivation, my results are the primary motivation for me to take any action. Then if I don't think of results, then what serves as the potent fuel for me to take action? Now, the problem is, the sort of the obligation is that once we are obsessed with results, right, once we are constantly thinking about the results, the quality of our actions suffer. Now, Lord Krishna is so clever that he understands this problem of the human mind, that when we are obsessed with the results, we don't give our best to our actions. And once you are giving your actions your full mettle, you are providing your actions with your full effort and capacity, you will see that results really don't matter, because most of us, the reason we stop trying or the reason we sort of don't persevere for a very long time is because we want to see immediate results, and if those immediate results are not evident to the senses, then we stop giving our best, right? And this is just one very gross way of looking at it, but there are subtler dimensions to it. Let me humbly share with you another parallel narrative of this philosophy or of this thought process. Now, once you have a mindset of only focusing on the process versus the results, now the chances are that with one eye on the result and with one eye on your path or on your process, you are only going to have one eye on the process or on the work. Because every time you are obsessing over the results, you are actually not giving your full attention to the work. This is what happens with most of us, right? Now, suppose someone opens a YouTube channel and he doesn't get the views, the number of views which is considered to be success as per the society's standards. He suddenly feels demotivated, and one fine day he stops uploading videos. Now, the problem with most of us is our source of inspiration and motivation comes from outside. If people appreciate your work, you feel motivated and you start doing that particular activity. If people don't appreciate your work, then suddenly the motivation dies down, right? And this sort of craving for appeasement, this craving for validation, which we have sort of unconsciously gathered from the conditioning of society, this hinders at so many levels. We are not able to focus on our actions because we are obsessing over the results. Results will come, but what we need to focus on is on the quality and the quantity of the right work. This is what Krishna is talking about. And one thing you will realize, that if you are not attached to the results of your work, even if you fail in that endeavor, you won't feel dejected. You won't feel that your life is finished. Now, Krishna is a very clever psychologist. He understands the subtle nuances of the human mind. Now, Buddha also said, right? He said desire is the main cause of sorrow. Now, if you are not obsessing over the results, you are absolutely focused on your actions, on your current initiatives, on what are the activities you need to engage yourself in, the chances of you being successful in that are higher. Now, even if you don't succeed, it won't affect you as much versus a situation wherein you are obsessing over a certain thing and you are so heavily attached to the results that if that doesn't work out the way you want that to work out, you will probably feel very depressed and you will submerge yourself in an ocean of melancholy and lamentation, and you will probably not do anything of value. This is what Krishna is saying. And if you think about it, the secret of all legends and titans of any industry, they always had a focus on their actions. Sure, there comes a time when we all feel bad when we are not getting the results. But Lord Krishna says that focus your attention and your thoughts and your efforts on actions and leave the results to me. Now, this also brings me to the understanding of stress in general, right? As to what is the main reason we feel stressed out. Now, it's very interesting and amusing that most of us are subjected to stress, but one thing you'll realize that the reason we feel stress is when we forget to differentiate, or we sort of don't have this understanding to distinguish between what are the things which I can control and what are the things which I cannot control. Now, the reason we feel stressed out is we are trying to control the things which is out of our control. Now, it's a very foolish way to function, but we unconsciously, since we are human beings, we get accustomed to that. We want to control everything as per our understanding of right and wrong. And if it doesn't work out that way, we are feeling stressed out. But we need to understand something, that there are certain aspects of our life which are absolutely under our control, and there are some things which are outside of our control. Having this unique sense of judgment, having this distinction will help us not ever feel stressed, will help us to sort of navigate this emotion of stress. Now, the things which are in our control, there is no reason for us to feel stressed, right? Because it's 100% the way we want it. Now, the tragedy is that most people don't have a clear demarcation between these two areas, and there's a lot of overlap, and because of that they feel a lot of stress and a lot of continuous stress, which serves to be detrimental to every dimension of their life. Lord Krishna talks about this. When he says focus on actions and not on results, he is sort of attacking the root cause of stress. The root cause of stress is when you're not getting the things as per your definition of the right thing, right? That's what's causing stress. And when he says that focus on actions but not on results, he is trying to focus your attention over an aspect of action, that you need to work on a certain particular goal without the expectation of results, and the source of inspiration should be from within. If it's from outside, because outside people are always going to have fluctuating opinions about the quality of your work. You are at some point of time, they are going to place you on a pedestal, and another time they're going to just make you fall, right? You can always have a sort of a reputation of a heartbeat with people, but essentially the source of all inspiration of work should be from within. So this is what he meant by when he said focus on action and not on results. Now, coming to the second point, he talks about becoming fearless. Now, in the second chapter of Bhagwad Gita, he says that we all are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience, meaning that we don't die, or nor we are, he refers to human beings as eternal souls. Souls who cannot be burnt, who cannot be hurt, who cannot be insulted, who cannot be killed. And by telling this, by giving this wisdom to Arjun, he is completely misrouting, sort of removing the roots of fear from him. Because let's understand, fear is basically coming from our identity. What we think of ourselves is the root cause of fear. And the ultimate fear, as I told in one of my videos, is fear of death. And Lord Krishna very cleverly sort of removed the fear of death from Arjuna, so that all his other fears eventually fell down, right? As a byproduct of that, when he was given the knowledge of his true identity, all the other fears ceased to exist. Now, you might be thinking that probably this is a philosophy or a thought process, but we need to understand something very significant. Fear is the number one emotion, which is the root of all failures, be it in the material dimension, be it in your health, be it in your relationships. In every place, in every dimension you can think of, fear is the biggest villain. And the funny part is 90 to 95% of our fears are perceived imaginations, mere hallucinations, which don't have anything to do with reality. And once you become more fearless in life, in every dimension, it was beautifully said by American philosopher. He said, boldness has a genuine magic. It has a power within itself. It has a momentum. Once you start something with genuine boldness, a boldness which is coming from a pure intention, You suddenly become unstoppable, because the very reason each one of us are sort of confined to certain chains is because we fear certain things. We fear insults, we fear social conditioning, we fear what the world will tell about us, talk about us. But the tragedy is that the world is going to talk about you either ways. Even if you don't take your initiative, they're going to have a particular narrative to talk about. Even if you take the initiative, they will have a narrative to talk about. There's a famous saying in Hindi which says, "Kuch to log kahenge, logon ka kaam hai kehna." Right? So it is basically a very foolish premise to sort of maneuver your life into, because every choice is so heavily conditioned by fear. Now, to put it in another way, right? Even anger, right? People who think that they are not scared but they are angry. Anger is also a subtle manifestation of fear. Now, you might be thinking, how is being angry fearful? The people who generally get angered, right? People who are very angry in nature are people who have a loud voice, right? These people are deeply insecure people, because the reason why they are feeling angry is their version of right is being threatened. And when their version of right is being threatened, then they have this fear psychosis that they have to somehow prove to the world that they are right. And because of that, they raise their voice. Because of that, they use their full power to sort of argue a particular point. Because deep within, they are sort of feeling defensive about it. People who become very angry are people who are very scared from within. They feel that if they don't showcase their anger, they will be perceived as weak. And now I know this will probably be a very different take on anger, but realize this: anger is not a show of strength, anger is a show of weakness. Anger is a crippled form of fear. So it's very important, and it's a human responsibility for each one of us to sort of get de-addicted to fear, because we all are addicted to fear in such subtle conscious and subconscious ways. We are scared to do the right things, right? Now there might be people, I was going through this lecture of Amog Leela Prabhu of ISKCON, and they think what others will think if they sort of carry this holy book of Bhagwad Gita and they wear the tilak, what the world will think, right? We are so much obsessed with what others will think about us that we have forgotten our true authentic self. We want to fit into a world which is so confused, who is completely conditioned by the Bollywood and Hollywood movies, that we have completely forgotten our true ancestral authentic self. So be authentic to yourself, and as you become more and more authentic yourself, as a result of that you become more and more fearless. Now opinions don't matter to you anymore, because you are doing something which is coming from a deep sense of authenticity. Hence, being fearless is the greatest service you can do to yourself, and you can inspire people around you to become more fearless. Now let's come to the third lesson, which is talked about in the Bhagwad Gita. Lord Krishna says that there are 3 gateways to hell. The 3 gateways are lust, greed and anger. Now when we talk about lust, right, most of us equate lust to sexual obsessions, a sexual obsession. But lust is not only to do with sexuality. You can have lust for food, you can have a lust for fame, you can have a lust for wealth, you can have a lust for money. To put it very simply, lust can be equated to an unsatiable obsession or an unsatiable desire. Now, these 3 gateways which Lord Krishna has talked about in the Gita, lust, greed and anger, they are sort of correlated. Now you might be thinking, how is it correlated, right? Mahatma Gandhi put it so well. He said, there's enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed, right? So essentially, when you have a lust for a certain thing, you are obsessed about it. You cannot survive or function if that thing is deprived from you, or it's kept away from you for a long time. Now because of that, anger is created. Because let's understand the root source of anger. If you are not getting what you wanted, if you are not getting what you desired, if you are not getting what you consider to be the right thing for you, you become angry, right? Now, anger, lust, and greed. Greed is basically when you want too much of something, when you are obsessed with something. That is greed. So, when you talk about these three gateways to hell, you can apply this to so many different dimensions of your life. Suppose you were completely obsessed about your career. Now something doesn't happen as per what you wanted to happen, you suddenly feel so infuriated with anger. Now anger leads to frustration, and frustration over a period of time becomes lamentation and depression. So essentially the root of all this is lust. So lust is not only about sexuality, lust can be for so many different things. Lust for fame, lust for money. One thing we need to understand is there needs to be a certain level of balanced desire for a certain attribute. If you become absolutely obsessed about something, that is a sure way, that's a shortcut to hell, to put it very simply. Now when we talk about hell, what does hell mean, right? Heaven and hell are not some distinct embodiments where we either enjoy or suffer. Heaven and hell are right here in the now. When you are suffering, you are experiencing hell. When you are blissful, you are experiencing heaven. So once you are becoming more lusty in the terms of your consciousness, you are going to become more hellish in nature. Because there are going to be times in your life when that insatiable lust for a certain thing is not going to be quenched or satisfied, and that will lead to anger, and that anger will lead to frustration, and frustration will lead to lamentation, and lamentation will lead you to become a remorseful person, a person of remorse. Now this is such a beautiful aspect of the Bhagwad Gita. There is so much of hidden mechanics of human emotions. They cannot be, if there is one book in this entire world which sort of encapsulates all the different verticals horizontally and vertically, it has to be this book. Because all the modern day self-help literature which you read, they are all in offshoots of the different concepts which have been talked about in the Bhagwad Gita. Be it law of attraction, quantum physics, mindfulness, all the different branches in the self-help community, they all are coming from the knowledge of the Bhagwad Gita. Very interesting it is, and the more you engage your consciousness in the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, and the more you bring it into action in your day-to-day life, results are bound to come. You will start experiencing heaven, a life of bliss in your everyday life. Now let's come to the fourth lesson of what is the lesson which Lord Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita. Now he emphasizes this quality of equanimity, becoming stable as an ocean. Now there's a lot of talk about yoga and yogic culture and things, right? But unfortunately most people have equated yoga to mere physical poses. But the root understanding of yoga essentially means union. When you talk about union, it basically means that you are joined with divine. When you talk about yoga with God, it basically means you have combined your identity, your existence with that universal intelligence. When we talk about karma yoga, it means becoming one with your work, becoming so engrossed in your work that you lose the identity of yourself, you lose your complete consciousness in that work, which today modern day psychologists call as the state of flow. This state of flow was talked about Lord Krishna 5000 years back. Look at the vision, look at the greatness of that particular book, which is so relevant even in today's time, and it's also going to be relevant even 10,000 years from now. Such is the magnanimity of this holy book. Now becoming equanimity, becoming peaceful, and viewing the life through a sense of tranquility, and having a equanimity in your demeanor, is very important. And if you look at the most successful leaders, if you look at the most successful CEOs in the corporate industry, you will notice something very peculiar about them. They are always stable. They don't get too excited when they are successful, and they don't get too remorse and depressed when tragedy strikes them. You can take so many examples. You can take Ratan Tata, you can take the great legendary Mahatma Gandhi, you can take the great cricketer Mahendra Singh Dhoni. All these people are hallmark people, hallmark quality. These people exhibited hallmark qualities of what being tranquil, what being a person of tremendous equanimity meant. And he always said that basically yogi means someone who is same when it's a moment of happiness and when there's a moment of sadness. People who get too excited when something is good in their life, these are the same people who become completely remorse when tragedy strikes them. I know of people who sort of start crying at the beat of a heart, and they start laughing at the beat of a heart, right? So this is what is called as an unstable personality. These people are not happy. They have a lot of accumulated negativity within them. And they are so temperamental in nature. Lord Krishna says that this is not a right way of functioning. He says we always need to have a tranquil demeanor to become of something of substance or of value. People who are stable, they become the most outstanding leaders. So this was the fourth lesson which can be drawn upon from Bhagwad Gita, power of stability. And the last and probably the most powerful of teachings. Now in Bhagwad Gita there are different chapters wherein each chapter sort of talks about the different yogas. He talks about the Karma Yoga, then it comes to the Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga basically is the yoga of work. And Jnana Yoga is basically the yoga wherein you accumulate different intellectual materials and you sort of proliferate your knowledge on certain things and you sort of go towards your goal or God in general, right? And the last one, Bhakti Yoga, which is heavily emphasized in the Bhagwad Gita, talks about this unconditional devotion to your objective, or if your objective is realization, God realization, to that. Now, devotion is not a simple quality. It's probably the most divine qualities any human beings can possess. Now, most of us, right, when we talk about devotion, we only sort of confine it to God, right? But devotion is not only confined to God. Devotion can be applied to so many aspects. Devotion can be applied to your work, to your relationships. Now the funny aspect of devotion is not cheap in the sense it's not conditional. Devotion is unconditional. Now it's very unfortunate that we have made God our sort of a business partner, right? We always we pray to God to get certain things. We have become like a beggar in front of Him, that we are constantly asking for certain things. And our devotion is actually not devotion, because it's conditional. True devotion is unconditional. It's coming from a place of the heart, wherein you don't have any expectations per se of your devotion, but the true result of your devotion is to engage in devotion itself. Now, if you think of any person, any legendary person in our history or in the current reality we all live in, they were all devoted to something which was coming from a place of unconditionality. If people were focused so much on the results, right, what am I getting from this devotion, they probably would have never persisted for such a long time. But because they were devoted to their work, they were devoted to the particular activity they were engaged in, that devotion ultimately gave them the results they truly deserved. Now, much can be talked about power of devotion, but to put it very simply, to sort of encapsulate it, devotion is something which is coming from a place of unconditionality. It's coming from heart, wherein you don't have any expectations per se, but that's what makes it so powerful, because you don't have any expectations. And the fountain of your inspiration is not from the outside, but it's coming from within. And that makes you unstoppable. Hope my today's video was of value to you. I know it's become a bit of a big video, but I think the lessons which we talked about in this particular Bhagwad Gita series which I'm going to talk about different lessons from different chapters of Bhagwad Gita. But I just thought this will be sort of an introductory video wherein we are going to talk about, where we sort of discuss the 5 top lessons you and me can learn from this holy book of Bhagwad Gita. Thank you so much for your time on this video. I'm really grateful for your time on this video, and I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.